There is a dangerous illusion that many people carry through life. The idea that happiness is something that simply arrives when circumstances finally line up perfectly. They tell themselves, I will be happy when I earn more money. I will be happy when I meet the right person. I will be happy when my troubles finally disappear. But if you pause and look closely at this line of thinking, you will realize it is a lie that keeps countless people trapped in a cycle of waiting for a joy that never arrives. Happiness is not an outcome of conditions. It is a decision of the mind. It is not the child of fortune, but the parent of resilience. When life becomes difficult, and it always will, your emotions will naturally want to bend toward frustration, despair, even hopelessness. But here is the truth. You hold the authority to redirect your emotional energy. You can choose to say, I will not let this difficulty steal my peace. I will not surrender my spirit just because the world has thrown me another challenge. And in that decision lies power. Every great life begins with this one awareness. I have control over my state of mind. Consider for a moment the countless people who endure pain, poverty, or loss, and yet still manage to radiate a lightness that others cannot understand. They are not happy because life has been easy. They are happy because they have trained themselves to interpret life differently. Where one person sees tragedy, another sees a test. Where one person sees a dead end, another sees a chance to start again with greater wisdom. The difference between the two is not fate. It is choice. Philosophers and thinkers across centuries have agreed that the mind is the battlefield of human destiny. If you lose control of your thoughts, you lose control of your happiness. But if you master the simple but powerful discipline of choosing how you will respond each day, then no external event can dictate your inner life. This is why the greatest power any individual possesses is the ability to say, I choose happiness, even here, even now. Now, let us not confuse this with ignoring reality. To choose happiness does not mean pretending there is no pain, no struggle, no injustice. It means refusing to let those realities become the definition of your life. You acknowledge the hardship, you face it, and you say, even in this difficulty, I will not surrender my spirit to despair. That is not denial, it is strength. Think of happiness as a muscle. If you wait for life to hand you the perfect circumstances before you train it, that muscle will wither away. But if you use it daily, if you deliberately seek reasons to be grateful, if you deliberately focus on progress instead of setbacks, then it will grow stronger until it becomes second nature. And just like a trained muscle, it will carry you when life demands more of you than you think you can endure. Every morning when you rise from your bed, you are given a fresh moment of choice. Before the rush of problems begins, before the world has had its chance to press its weight upon you, you hold the power to declare, today I will govern my own spirit. Today I will push myself toward joy even if the world pushes me toward sorrow. That declaration, spoken in the silence of your own mind, has more impact on the direction of your day than any outside event. Ask yourself, how many days of your life have you surrendered to anger, frustration, or hopelessness, only to realize later that it was not the circumstance that ruined your day. It was the way you chose to react. That awareness should not make you feel guilty. It should empower you, because it proves that you can change it. You can make a different choice starting right now. Happiness, when stripped to its core, is nothing more than the consistent habit of focusing your energy on what strengthens you rather than what weakens you. It is not about ignoring pain, but about elevating meaning above pain. You cannot always decide what happens to you, but you can always decide what happens within you. And once you grasp that truth, you will never again be a victim of circumstance. Let me give you an example you can use today. When something goes wrong, when you miss an opportunity, when someone treats you unfairly, when the plan falls apart, pause for just a moment and ask yourself, what can I learn here? How can I grow here? How can I turn this moment into a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block? That pause, that intentional question is where happiness is born, because in that space between the event and your response, you are reclaiming control. The person who has not yet realized this truth lives as a slave to circumstances. The weather, the traffic, the mistakes of others. Each little thing pushes them around, and they go through life like a ship without a captain, tossed endlessly by waves. But the person who learns to choose happiness, no matter the storm, becomes unshakable. They may bend, but they do not break. They may fall, but they rise again quickly. Their strength comes not from what happens to them, but from what they decide within themselves. Do not wait for life to ease up before you choose joy. Do not wait for your bank account to be full, your relationships to be perfect, or your health to be flawless. If you wait, you will wait forever. Start now. Train your mind to find a reason, however small, to be thankful today. Smile at something simple. Appreciate one thing you already have. That act of deliberate choice is the seed of an unshakable happiness that no amount of hardship can uproot. Remember, this happiness is not the finish line. It is the fuel. You do not become happy because you have succeeded. You succeed because you first chose to be happy. You do not become happy because the burden disappeared. You find the strength to carry the burden because you first chose happiness. That is why it is the most powerful choice you can ever make. And so I leave you with this thought. Every day life whispers the same question in your ear. Will you surrender your spirit, or will you rise? And every day, in the silence of your heart, you must answer. Choose wisely, for that answer shapes not just your day, but your destiny. If happiness is a choice, then the mind is the tool with which that choice is enforced. The quality of your life will always mirror the quality of your thoughts. This is not some abstract philosophy. It is a law as precise as gravity. You cannot expect to live with peace, courage, and happiness if your mind is flooded daily with bitterness, fear, and complaint. Just as you cannot plant weeds in a garden and expect roses to bloom, you cannot feed your mind with negativity and expect a positive life to emerge. But the difficulty lies here. The mind does not naturally discipline itself. Left unchecked, it will wander to its lowest impulses. It will replay your failures. It will magnify your fears. It will search for problems where there are none and exaggerate the weight of the ones that exist. The human mind, without direction, drifts toward chaos. And so, the first responsibility of anyone who wishes to live with happiness and strength is to take control of this restless instrument and teach it to seek the good. Consider how much energy is wasted every day on thoughts that do not serve you. You think about the insult someone threw at you yesterday. You imagine worst-case scenarios for tomorrow. You compare your life to someone else's highlight reel and conclude that you are falling behind. None of these thoughts add to your growth. None of them strengthen your spirit. And yet many people allow them to run on endlessly, like a broken record, until they become the very lens through which life is seen. The mind is powerful, but it is also obedient. It will build the reality that you instruct it to build. If you tell it to search for what is wrong, it will always find it. But if you command it to search for what is right, it will uncover treasures that others overlook. Training the mind to seek the good is not about ignoring hardship. It is about retraining perception. When you face a setback, the undisciplined mind says, "Why me?" The disciplined mind says, "What is this teaching me?" What strength is being forged here? When someone betrays your trust, the undisciplined mind says, "I can never trust again." The disciplined mind says, "Now I know how to see more clearly, and I will rise wiser." The same event, the same circumstance, yet the result is completely different because of the direction of thought. You see, the mind is like a lens. If the lens is dirty, the entire world looks dark. If the lens is sharpened, the world reveals its hidden beauty. You cannot always change the scenery outside the window, but you can always clean the glass through which you look at it. This is the essence of mental discipline, choosing to polish your perspective until life reveals opportunity where once there seemed only despair. There is also a practical side to this. Thoughts are not merely invisible ideas, they are builders of behavior. What you dwell on, you eventually act on. A person who fills their mind with doubt will hesitate. A person who fills their mind with resentment will lash out. A person who fills their mind with gratitude will naturally move with courage and warmth. Discipline of thought is not a luxury. It is the foundation upon which your character and your actions are constructed. To achieve this discipline, you must practice daily. The undisciplined mind has years, perhaps decades, of bad habits. It is accustomed to rushing toward negativity because that is what you have allowed. So you must begin to interrupt this pattern. When you catch yourself dwelling on what is wrong, stop and deliberately name what is right. When you feel yourself sinking into fear, pause and recall one moment of strength you have already lived through. Replace each thought that weakens you with a thought that strengthens you. At first, it will feel forced, but with repetition, it will become natural. And in time, The mind will no longer default to fear, it will default to faith. Think of people who seem unshakable in the face of life's storms. They are not superhuman. They simply refuse to surrender control of their thoughts. They are masters of perspective. Where others see endings, they see beginnings. Where others see obstacles, they see the training ground of resilience. And because they see differently, they live differently. Their happiness is not fragile, dependent on the weather of circumstances. It is grounded in the discipline of thought. This discipline also demands that you guard what you allow into your mind. Just as you would not pour poison into your body and expect health, you cannot allow constant negativity to flood your mind and expect happiness. The conversations you engage in, the media you consume, the people you surround yourself with, all of these are food for your thoughts. If they are toxic, they will weaken you. If they are uplifting, they will strengthen you. Be ruthless about this. Protect your mind as if it were the very engine of your destiny, because it is. Remember also that the mind cannot hold both gratitude and despair at the same time. One will always push the other out. So discipline yourself to dwell on gratitude, even in the smallest things. If you can appreciate a sunrise, the sound of laughter, the simple fact that you are alive today with another chance to try again, then your mind begins to tilt toward strength. And when the heavy storms of life come, that habit of seeking the good will be the very thing that carries you through. Happiness requires this discipline because without it, the weight of life will drag you into mental slavery. The undisciplined mind is at the mercy of every difficulty, but the disciplined mind is free. It cannot be forced into despair because it always finds the light, even if the light is only a flicker. And that flicker, nurtured with care, becomes a flame strong enough to guide you through the darkest nights. So I ask you, how will you discipline your mind? Will you allow it to be hijacked by fear, by doubt, by endless complaint? Or will you take the reins firmly in your hands and command it to search for the good in every moment? The choice, as always, is yours. And I leave you with this thought. The mind is the soil of your life. If you plant seeds of negativity, you will harvest misery. If you plant seeds of gratitude, courage, and hope, you will harvest joy. What grows tomorrow depends entirely on what you choose to plant today. So often when people imagine happiness, they picture a moment of great triumph, the day they land the perfect job, the day they buy the dream home, the day they finally reach a level of success that others will admire. And yes, such moments have their place. They bring a sense of satisfaction. But here is the secret that escapes most people. Happiness is not found in those rare milestones. If you make it dependent on those high peaks alone, you will spend most of your life wandering in valleys, waiting for a joy that visits only on occasion. Real, lasting happiness is built not on the mountain tops, but in the steady, deliberate climb. It is cultivated in the small victories of each day. Think about it, a life is not shaped by a handful of extraordinary moments, but by thousands of ordinary choices stacked together. You do not become strong because of one day in the gym. You become strong because of consistency. You do not become wise because of one great decision. You become wise because you disciplined yourself to learn, to reflect, to adjust each day. The same law governs happiness. It is the byproduct of the small, daily victories you claim even when nobody else notices them. And what are these victories? They are as simple as getting out of bed with determination instead of dragging yourself into the day. They are choosing gratitude instead of complaint when your mind wants to dwell on what is wrong. They are speaking with kindness when it would be easier to lash out. They are pushing yourself one step further in your work, your health, your relationships, even when you feel tired. These acts may look small, but their impact is profound. Each one deposits strength into your character. Each one fuels your spirit with a sense of progress. And progress, more than anything else, is what creates happiness. You see, the human heart is wired to crave growth. The moment you feel yourself moving forward, even by an inch, you feel alive. On the other hand, the moment you feel stagnant, even if nothing is terribly wrong, your spirit begins to suffocate. This is why small daily victories matter so much. They break the illusion that life is stuck. They prove to you over and over again that you have the ability to shape your own direction. And once you see that proof, happiness follows. There is also something deeply psychological at work here. Your mind is constantly collecting evidence about who you are. If you fail to act, it collects evidence of weakness. If you indulge in fear, it collects evidence of doubt. But when you take one step, just one, toward growth, your mind collects evidence that you are strong, capable, and worthy of more. Over time, these small victories reshape your self-image. They tell you, I am a person who moves forward, no matter how small the step. And when that identity becomes firm, happiness is no longer a fleeting visitor. It becomes a resident in your life. Let us not overlook the compound effect of these victories. One small step today may not seem like much, but a small step repeated for 30 days becomes momentum. Momentum repeated for 6 months becomes transformation. Transformation sustained for years becomes a life that others will look at in astonishment, wondering how it was built. And the answer will be simple: it was built one small victory at a time. Too many people underestimate the power of small actions because they are seduced by the idea of sudden breakthroughs. They want instant change, immediate reward. But if you place your happiness on a breakthrough, you are placing it on something rare and unpredictable. If you tie it instead to the small victories of today, you gain access to joy every single day of your life. Imagine a person who wakes up and decides to write one page of a book. That one page does not make them an author, but a page a day, carried out for a year, results in a finished manuscript. More than that, it results in a habit of discipline and identity of persistence, a daily satisfaction that builds regardless of whether the book is ever published. The real gift was not the book. It was the small victories along the way that created happiness long before the destination was reached. Or think of the person who struggles with despair but chooses each morning to write down 3 things they are grateful for. On the first day, it feels forced. On the 5th day, it feels routine. But by the 50th day, their mind has been rewired to notice blessings automatically. Their happiness was not born from a sudden external event. It was sculpted gradually through the chiseling power of small daily actions. This is the discipline I urge you to embrace. Do not underestimate the little wins. Celebrate them, protect them. Build them into your days as deliberately as you brush your teeth or drink water. They are the bricks from which unshakable life is built. And, perhaps most importantly, these small victories are proof that you can create happiness even in difficult times. You may not be able to control the larger storms of life, illness, loss, financial struggle, but you can still claim the victory of choosing gratitude, of refusing to let despair dominate your thoughts, of showing up one more day with courage. These are not trivial. They are acts of defiance against hopelessness. They are declarations that happiness will not be stolen from you simply because life is hard. So I ask you, what small victories will you claim today? Will you choose to rise 10 minutes earlier to center your mind instead of rushing? Will you choose to speak one word of encouragement to someone who needs it? Will you choose to take one step, however small, toward the life you say you want? These actions may not make headlines. No one may applaud you, but they will build within you a happiness that is immune to circumstance. Do not wait for the grand victories of life to bring you joy. Choose instead to collect small victories each day, and you will discover that the grand victories eventually take care of themselves. More importantly, you will not have to wait for happiness. You will carry it with you, unshakable, step by step, day by day. And I leave you with this: happiness is not found in extraordinary moments. It is created in ordinary ones. Win the small battles of today, and tomorrow will take care of itself. If there is one principle that can turn the darkest season of your life into a source of light, it is gratitude. Not the shallow gratitude that is spoken when everything is going well, but the deeper gratitude that is chosen when life feels unbearable. It is easy to be thankful when the path is smooth, when success comes easily, when people treat you kindly. But the kind of gratitude that builds unshakable happiness is the gratitude you summon in the midst of struggle, the kind that takes difficulty and transforms it into power. At first, this may sound unreasonable. How can one be grateful for hardship? How can one say, "Thank you," when the weight of life feels like it is pressing them to the ground? But let us think more deeply. Gratitude is not about celebrating pain itself. It is about celebrating the strength, the lessons, and the resilience that pain awakens in you. Life's difficulties are not handed to you to destroy you. They are handed to you to shape you. Gratitude is the perspective that allows you to see that shaping clearly and to rise above the bitterness that would otherwise poison your spirit. Imagine 2 people facing the same adversity. One says, "Why me? Life is unfair. I am cursed." Their bitterness multiplies the suffering until it consumes them. The other, while still feeling the sting of pain, says, "This is hard, but perhaps it is teaching me something I need to learn. Perhaps it is giving me a strength I could not develop otherwise." That second person may still feel sorrow, but sorrow does not dominate them. Gratitude transforms their perception. It gives them the power to endure and even to grow. This is not abstract philosophy, it is a psychological reality. The human mind cannot hold resentment and gratitude with equal intensity at the same time. One will always displace the other. If you allow resentment to dominate, your energy is drained, your creativity stifled, and your courage shrinks. But if you discipline yourself to focus on gratitude, the brain rewires itself to see possibility, to generate solutions, and to recover faster from setbacks. Gratitude is not just an attitude. It is a force that transforms how your mind processes reality itself. Think of the many times in your past when you faced something that felt unbearable. At that moment, you may have thought you could never survive it. And yet, here you are, stronger, wiser, perhaps even more compassionate than before. The struggle became a chapter of your growth. The pain that once seemed meaningless now carries a lesson. Gratitude looks back at those experiences and says, "Even though I would not have chosen this path, I can see how it shaped me into who I am today." That recognition is power because it assures you that today's challenges may one day be remembered with the same respect. Gratitude also frees you from comparison. Without it, you will always measure your life against others, focusing on what you lack. But with gratitude, you anchor yourself in the richness of what you already have. This is why some people with very little live with joy, while others who seem to have everything remain miserable. The difference is not the condition of their lives. It is the condition of their perspective. Gratitude is the great equalizer. It shifts the focus from what is missing to what is present, from scarcity to abundance. It is important to understand that gratitude is a choice, not a natural reflex. Left to itself, the mind often resists gratitude in hardship. It wants to cling to complaint because complaint feels justified. But when you deliberately stop and ask, "What can I be thankful for?" even in this moment, you break that cycle. You reclaim control of your thoughts. You rise above the reflex of despair and choose a higher path. Over time, that practice hardens into habit and habit into character. You become a person who automatically searches for the gift in the challenge, and as a result, your happiness becomes unshakable. Let us bring this down to something practical. The next time life hands you disappointment, pause and ask yourself, what strength is this demanding of me? What skill is this teaching me? What perspective will I gain because of this? Those questions are the beginning of gratitude. They shift your focus from what was taken to what can still be gained. That shift alone is enough to change the emotional tone of the moment. Where once you felt powerless, you now feel resourceful. Where once you felt broken, you now feel the beginnings of resilience. And make no mistake, gratitude does not erase pain, but it does redeem it. Without gratitude, pain is just suffering. With gratitude, pain becomes a teacher. Without gratitude, struggle is a weight that crushes you. With gratitude, struggle is a resistance that builds your strength. The same event can destroy one person and empower another. The difference lies in whether gratitude is present. This perspective is why the strongest, most inspiring people are often those who have endured the greatest struggles. They did not become bitter, they became grateful. They saw in their hardships not just the scars, but the wisdom. And from that wisdom they built lives that inspire others to rise. Their happiness was not stolen by struggle, it was carved out of struggle. I urge you to adopt this same spirit. Begin by practicing gratitude daily, not just for the obvious blessings, but for the difficult ones. Write them down if you must. Train your mind to see value where others see only pain. When you do this consistently, you will notice a profound shift. Life will no longer feel like something happening against you, but something happening for you. Every challenge will carry within it a hidden gift, and gratitude will be the key that unlocks it. So the next time life knocks you down, instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What is this giving me?" That one question may be the most powerful act of gratitude you will ever practice. And I leave you with this closing thought: life's struggles are not walls meant to block your path. They are chisels meant to shape your soul. With gratitude, you will see not just the pain, but the purpose. And in that vision, you will find a happiness that cannot be broken. There is a trap that ruins more dreams, more potential, more happiness than failure ever could. That trap is comfort. Comfort seems harmless. It feels safe, warm, familiar. It tells you, stay here. Don't take risks. Don't stretch yourself. You've done enough. And yet, if you listen to it too long, you wake up one day with the heavy ache of unfulfilled potential. Comfort does not give you happiness. It only gives you temporary ease. And ease, when worshipped too much, slowly becomes the cage that keeps you from true fulfillment. Every human being has within them a desire to expand, to grow, to become more than they were yesterday. That desire is what keeps us alive. It is why a child reaches for knowledge, why an artist longs to create, why an entrepreneur risks failure for the sake of building. It is why you feel restless when you know you are capable of more than the life you are currently living. But growth does not live inside comfort. It lies just beyond it, and that means happiness, true happiness, is not found in staying safe. It is found in pushing yourself beyond what feels easy into what feels challenging, into what forces you to rise. Think about the times in your life when you felt most alive. Was it when you were sitting comfortably, avoiding challenge? Or was it when you took a leap, when you risked failure, when you stretched yourself to do something you had never done before? That pulse of aliveness, that sense of pride, that deep joy, that is fulfillment. It does not come from what is easy. It comes from what is earned through courage. The irony is this: many people spend their lives chasing happiness while running from discomfort, not realizing the very thing they run from is the door to the joy they seek. The muscle of growth is built in resistance. Without resistance, there is no strength. Without challenge, there is no expansion. Without stepping beyond the familiar, there is no fulfillment. The danger of the comfort zone is not that it keeps you safe. It is that it slowly kills your spirit while convincing you that you are fine. Day after day, you avoid risk, you avoid discomfort, and little by little, your ambition shrinks, your vision shrinks, your courage shrinks, until one day, you realize you have settled not because you lacked potential, but because you lacked the willingness to step beyond comfort. And the regret of that realization is far more painful than the temporary discomfort you once avoided. To push beyond your comfort zone is not about recklessness. It is about deliberate stretching. It is about setting a goal that scares you just enough to wake you up. It is about saying yes to opportunities that intimidate you, about choosing growth even when fear whispers that you are not ready. And the beauty of it is this: each time you step beyond comfort, your world expands. What once felt terrifying becomes normal. What once felt impossible becomes part of who you are. You discover that your limits were never fixed. They were self-imposed. And each time you break through one, you discover more of yourself. Understand this: fear will always accompany growth. Many people wait for fear to disappear before they take action, but fear never truly disappears. The point is not to eliminate fear, but act in spite of it. That act itself transforms fear into strength. You learn not to be fearless, but to be courageous. And courage, when repeated, becomes the foundation of fulfillment. Let us ground this in something practical. Imagine a person who wants to start a business, but they fear failure. So they stay in a job they dislike year after year, waiting for a perfect time that never comes. Their comfort becomes their prison. Now imagine another person who feels the same fear but pushes forward anyway, taking small steps each day, learning as they go. They stumble, they struggle, but they grow. And in the process, they not only build a business, but also build themselves into someone stronger, wiser, and more alive. The difference is not talent, it is the willingness to step beyond comfort. And this truth applies not only to career, but to every aspect of life. In relationships, fulfillment comes not from avoiding vulnerability, but from risking openness, risking honesty, risking rejection to build something deeper. In health, fulfillment comes not from indulging every craving, but from pushing the body to sweat, to endure, to strengthen. In personal growth, fulfillment comes not from staying in what you already know, but from challenging your mind to expand into new ideas, new skills, new perspectives. Everywhere you look, the pattern repeats: happiness is not in comfort, but in courageous expansion. So I ask you, where in your life have you allowed comfort to chain you down? What dreams have you delayed because stepping forward felt too uncertain? What skills have you left undeveloped because the effort felt too demanding? What parts of yourself remain hidden because you never pushed past the fear of failure? Those questions may sting, but they are the doorway to truth. And the moment you face them honestly, you gain the chance to break free. Fulfillment comes when you push yourself to the point where you can look back and say, I did not waste my potential. I did not settle for ease at the expense of growth. I chose courage over comfort, and in that choice, I discovered myself. That is the kind of happiness that lasts. It is not fragile because it is not built on avoiding pain. It is built on enduring it, overcoming it, transforming it. You do not need to leap across mountains today. Start with small steps beyond your comfort. Say yes to the challenge you have been postponing. Speak up when your voice trembles. Try the thing you have convinced yourself is beyond your ability. Each step beyond comfort expands the horizon of your life, and in that expansion lies the fulfillment you have been searching for. I leave you with this thought: comfort may give you ease today, but it will rob you of joy tomorrow. Growth may demand struggle today, but it will give you fulfillment for the rest of your life. The choice is simple. Will you choose the safety of comfort or the happiness that only courage can bring? There is a mistake that many people make when it comes to happiness. They believe it is fragile, something that can be taken from them the moment life becomes difficult. They speak of happiness as if it were dependent on perfect weather, smooth roads, and cooperative people. But the truth is far different. Happiness is not the child of circumstance. It is the offspring of courage. It is not given. It is claimed, and the claiming of it requires strength, discipline, and above all, bravery. Think of the moments in your life when happiness was hardest to find. Maybe you were carrying grief. Maybe you were staring at financial hardship. Maybe you felt abandoned or misunderstood. In those moments, happiness did not arrive naturally. It felt impossible. And yet, some part of you still had the power to say, I will not let this situation control the condition of my spirit. I will not wait for circumstances to change before I rise within myself. That choice right there is courage. It is the act of pushing against the weight of despair and insisting on light. That is happiness at its highest form, not something handed to you, but something wrestled from difficulty by the force of your own will. Understand this: it takes no courage to be happy when everything goes well. Anyone can smile when the sun is shining, when success comes easily, when doors open without resistance. That kind of happiness does not reveal strength. True happiness is proven in adversity, when your world shakes, when your plans collapse, when life seems determined to test the depth of your spirit. To choose happiness, then, to carry joy in spite of the storm, that is not weakness or denial. That is an act of supreme courage. The reason happiness requires courage is because it demands that you resist the natural pull of negativity. It is always easier to complain than to be grateful. Easier to surrender to despair than to fight for hope. Easier to give in to bitterness than to rise with strength. The easy path is never the higher path. To hold on to joy when sorrow presses in on every side. To look for meaning when others see only tragedy. To believe in tomorrow when today feels unbearable. This is the work of the brave. Some people confuse happiness with avoidance, as if the courageous thing is to ignore pain and pretend it does not exist. But avoidance is not courage. It is fear wearing a mask. Courage does not deny reality. It faces it directly. It looks hardship in the eye and says, you may test me, but you will not break me. You may weigh me down, but I will still choose to rise. That is happiness as an act of defiance. It is a declaration that your inner life belongs to you and to no circumstance. When you understand happiness in this way, you begin to see that it is a responsibility, not just a feeling. To live with joy is to live with strength, and that strength is needed not only for yourself but for those around you. A courageous happiness becomes a light that others lean on. When they see you standing tall in the midst of difficulty, when they witness your ability to keep smiling, to keep moving, to keep encouraging even in hardship, they are reminded that they too can endure. Your courage becomes contagious. Your happiness becomes an act of service to the world. And let us be clear, this kind of happiness is not reckless optimism. It does not mean ignoring challenges or dismissing pain. It means recognizing that while you cannot always control what happens to you, you can always control what happens within you. It is the decision to refuse despair, even when despair feels justified. It is the discipline of saying, I choose to live from strength, not weakness. I choose to rise from courage, not collapse into fear. That is what makes happiness an act of bravery. Look at history, and you will see this truth repeated. The people who have inspired generations are not those who had easy lives, but those who maintained courage and even joy in the hardest of times. They endured prisons, poverty, rejection, loss, and yet they carried themselves with dignity, with faith, with lightness of spirit. They did not let circumstances define them. They defined themselves through courage, and in that courage their happiness became unshakable. But let us bring this closer to you. Each day of your life presents small opportunities to practice this courage. When the day goes wrong, you can either dwell on frustration or choose to laugh and move forward. When someone wounds you, you can either carry bitterness or choose forgiveness and protect your peace. When fear whispers that you are not capable, you can either shrink back or push forward with belief. These choices may look small, but they are the daily battlefield where courageous happiness is built. And here is the reward. When happiness is rooted in courage, it becomes untouchable. If your joy depends on circumstances, then circumstances will always control you. But if your joy depends on courage, then nothing can take it from you, because courage is always available to you, even in the darkest hour. Courage is a decision that no one else can make for you, and no one else can take away. It is yours. So I challenge you, stop waiting for life to become easy before you choose happiness. That day will never come. If you wait, you will wait forever. Instead, decide today that your happiness will not be conditional, it will be courageous. Choose to smile even when the path is steep. Choose to believe even when progress is slow. Choose to carry joy even when life tries to convince you that you should not. In those choices, you will discover the deepest, most powerful form of happiness, the kind that cannot be shaken, the kind that carries you through every season of life. And I leave you with this closing thought. Happiness is not the absence of hardship, it is the courage to rise above it. Do not ask life to be easier, ask yourself to be braver. For in bravery, you will find a happiness that no circumstance can ever destroy.